Hey guys, this is Andy from SF Planet, and today we are going to interview GB Hajim, the producer, director and co-author of the movie Strange Frame. At first I want to say I'm really glad that you're here and doing this interview with us.
I'm really glad to be working with you today.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background as a producer and director?
Well, I I started after grad school. I moved to Hawaii, and I couldn't get any work in my field. Even though I had a master's degree in film production, I really couldn't get any work. And I worked as a beekeeper. I worked mixing music for live bands, substitute teacher, did all kinds of work. And then finally, I got a job as a sound guy on a live production set on the volcano. And I got a call in the middle of the night, and somebody said, "Could you walk backwards over hot lava holding a boom mic?" And I was so hungry for work, I said, "I can do anything." And that's exactly what they had me do. It was a live production with some scientists out on a fresh lava flow. And they'd been rehearsing for 2 weeks, but there was a terrible accident, and they lost their sound guys. And so me, without any rehearsals, at midnight, because it was live to the UK, they sent me out on this lava flow that was only an hour old, and the surface temperature of the lava was about 400 degrees where I was walking, and the air temperature was about 130, 140. And there was a scientist out there, and I had to walk backwards in the dark, holding the boom mic right in front of him during this live television shoot. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but my boots caught fire at one point, and I just kept my cool and kept on walking. And ever since then, I got a lot of work. And I moved on to doing a documentary about the volcano, a feature-length documentary that was picked up by Discovery Networks. And then I started working with the Hawaiians. I learned how to speak Hawaiian, and I became a director of a lot of Hawaiian language videos. I produced the first Hawaiian language feature film, and we actually did the whole production in Hawaiian. The crew was all directed in Hawaiian. It was a fantastic experience. And for 12 years, I worked with the Hawaiians, growing their production capacity. And that's where I developed this animation style that I used in Strange Frame, which is kind of a modified cutout style. It's really been never done to this extent before. So it's something very fresh. I think that pretty much brings me all the way up to date. I've done a lot of small projects here and there, some Hollywood, some much smaller. But really, the Hawaiian language was 70% of my work, the Hawaiian language media that I did. And I produced over 120 videos with them.
Wow, these are a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Would you say that you have been influenced by any other producer or director?
Oh, gosh. I went to film school for far too long, and so I've got influences from everywhere. I think I'd have to talk about my professors more than watching films. I mean, I love Blade Runner, the eye candy that Ridley Scott developed for it was fantastic. I love Rene Lalo, his fantastic planet. There's so many directors that you take bits and pieces from, but really my professors, my different professors, I had the fortune of studying underneath J.P. Gorin, who was Jean-Luc Godard's assistant director, Babette Mangold, who is an incredible cinematographer. I worked with Standish Lauder as an experimental filmmaker. These are all my professors that really gave me incredible insight. And Manny Farber, who's one of the most important film critics in America. He actually taught at my university, and I got to study with him. So these people that really opened my eyes about what filmmaking was, what Alfred Hitchcock was doing in a frame. I mean, Manny Farber really opened up the screen and showed you what he was doing with that film space. And Jean-Luc Godard's work. J.P. Gorin was so intimate with him. He really could tell you what he was doing in Alphaville and how he could create a science fiction film just through dialogue. So I, I think that really the people that you meet in person and you interact with person have a deeper influence on you than the people that you just watch. And so I really look to my professors at calling out those influences.
Wow, that sounds really awesome and amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
You produced many documentaries. What motivated you to go ahead and produce a sci-fi animation film?
I got when I was in college, I became quite the political activist. I organized some of the largest protests in the city that I was living in, and I was in the art program, and I did different kinds of art, and art ended up in fine arts, and art ends up in galleries, and people buy it and put it in their homes, and it kind of vanishes from the public space, and that didn't sit well with me. So I moved more and more into public art, and I ended up doing muralism before moving into film. I worked with a bunch of orphans in Mexico doing murals for a while, and then I found film, and I found that the most political film could be was doing documentary work and educational work like I did with the Hawaiians. And we worked to rejuvenate their language, which was almost all gone when I started working with them. And now there was only 600 speakers when I started working with them, maybe 1,000, and now there's 35,000 speakers. So that working in those documentaries and those educational videos was a way to express my political side. But I've always been a huge sci-fi fan. I've never stopped reading science fiction. And when I got to a certain point in my career, I thought, I'd like to do something that really speaks from who I am more deeply, and science fiction is it. And not to say that we dropped the political mantle with it. I mean, this is the world's first animated feature film with lesbian heroes. So we did definitely push some thresholds. And if you see the film, you can see all kinds of thresholds where we've put into the subtext of the film that really push the whole social discourse forward. But it's not a political film. It's a beautiful piece of eye candy. So I hope people enjoy it as that as well.
Could you summarize this movie in a few words?
The film is about a saxophone player named Parker, and she leaves her comfortable life to pursue her passion of playing music, and she goes to one of the most dangerous places on her moon, which is called Ganymede City, the city where all this violence is going down. And she, in the middle of a riot, she's rescued by an escaped debt slave, Naya, who's also an incredible vocalist and guitarist, and they form a band. And even though Naya just escaped from debt slavery, when she finds that stardom is another kind of slavery, and Parker and Naya are separated by that stardom, and it's really Parker's journey to go rescue Naya from the fame and where it's put her, without giving too much away.
You are one of the co-authors of this movie. What is your inspiration for writing a movie?
I think the inspiration for this movie, the closest thing, is John Varley. He wrote a novel called Steel Beach. The opening line to Steel Beach is, "Peace will be obsolete in 5 years." And, he creates a future where humanity has reshaped itself and society has reshaped itself to fit the experience of being in space and being an exoplanetary community. And so little science fiction media actually explores that. Most of science fiction is just a setting where you can have space battles and chase scenes. And we wanted to pay homage to science fiction, literary science fiction that really explores the potential of humanity. And so I guess that's my influence. We have a future where people are going to be bioengineered and changed to fit their specific job, and we'll become aliens unto ourselves. We don't need another race coming from another solar system to we're going to become. We can just put all the different strains of humanity together and see how they clash against each other. And I think that's the future, and I think it's just as exciting as having an experience with aliens, and I hope to explore this deeper.
What makes this film special?
Oh, so much. There's so much special in it. The stop animation, like I said, really nothing has been done this way before, where we created 8,000 drawings and brought them into a compositing program and made them feel like they're three-dimensional, but they're really just hand drawings being moved. And so there's really been nothing like that. Some people said it reminds them of Indonesian shadow puppets, and some people say that it reminds them of Ralph Bakshi, who's known for the original Lord of the Rings animated film. There's so much that really is incredible about the way it looks. And then the sound is so fantastic. Had the great opportunity to work with Gary Rizzo, who's probably the top sound mixer in the world right now. He mixes the big budget movies, the $200 million movies like Dark Knight, and he mixed a very small movie, of Titanic, and he mixed The Incredibles and all these other films. And yet, a film like that, those films, big budget films, don't give him that much opportunity to experiment because they have to keep it by the book because there's so much at stake. And we let Gary use our movie as his playground. So he took all that knowledge that he had from doing these big budget movies and just played with our movie. So the sound was incredible. And we had incredible musical talent. We had this vocalist, Durga McBroom, who toured with Pink Floyd for over a decade. And she was a vocalist with them. And she has an incredible voice. And she sings our opening and closing. And we have all these great musicians from all across the musical landscape playing on the soundtrack there. And the film has incredible voices. My voice director and casting director, Jamie Thompson, put together a cast of the most beautiful, delicious voices in science fiction, including Tim Curry, who has one of the most incredible voices in the world. Just his laugh, you can just listen to his laugh and his and all that. I mean, the way he puts so much richness into voices, incredible soundscape this movie is. And then the story is really like very few stories out there. And as we said, it is the first animated feature film with Leslie Rose, and I think that makes it unique in itself.
That sounds as if the production was a lot of work. How long did the production of this movie actually take?
Well, in 1999, Shelley Doty, who co-wrote and co-created Strange Frame with me, we sat down and started throwing around ideas. And we first developed a TV pilot with episodes and put together kind of a flash reel and took it around to various cable stations. But there was this huge media conglomeration happening, and the media stations were all buying each other up. So there was no cross competition anymore. You couldn't get one station bidding against another. And MTV made an offer to buy it all up, the whole idea, everything. And we'd have to give up all rights, all ancillary rights, everything that related to Strange Frame. We had to give it up to them if we wanted to take that deal. And Shelley had, quite frankly, become too attached to the characters. So we passed on that, rewrote it as a feature film. And in 2005, instead of bringing in outside talent, I started training local kids in the community because I live in a very, very poor Hawaii, and the kids have no opportunities. So I thought this is a great chance to give them a shot at the big time. So I trained kids from the local high school and the local community college style of animation, and a few of those kids became my crew on the movie. So we entered production in 2006, 2007 after a couple of years of training with these.
When you have such a lot of work, how does it feel when a project like this, which is very time intensive, when it's actually finished?
What does it feel like? I mean, there's a certain sense of relief because when you're working on the film, there's constantly, you got done, eking at the back of your mind. There's always, okay, I got to get up and get the movie done. Got to get up, got to get the movie done. That is gone, but in some ways it's not done yet because we haven't finished distribution. I mean, we have no plan, for example, for Germany yet. So it's like until I reach all the audience that has expressed interest in it, it's not done. And so there's this constant work until we've reached the audience. The other aspect of it is that I don't have my next project lined up, and so that at me too is like, well, where's the next thing? What's the next thing to do? And So as an artist, I don't feel like I'm done. I feel like I've just begun. It's kind of okay. I'm not animating this movie anymore, but then again, like I said, I just feel like I'm at the beginning of something.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, cause yeah, I'm not a producer, and I always thought you, you do your project, you do your work, and when this project is done, it is done. And I never thought that that it's actually more than just work.
I, this is art. I mean, I do this as something that it's really a part of me. I mean, you give up so much of your time and you immerse yourself so much in the project that it has more than just your work. It's your baby. One of my film teachers says, you know, it's your child, and you give birth to it and you nurture it and all that. And then right now I'm at the stage of sending my child out into the world and for it to stand on its own 2 feet and walk soon. And so that's the stage I'm in right now, that my child is just beginning to walk. And we're going to these film festivals. The most recent one is we're going to be at is in Belfast in Ireland. And so it's just taking these steps now. You know, we've gone to the UK, we're going to Ireland, we're going across the country in the United States, and hopefully it'll keep on walking.
Which message should this film convey to the audience?
I think that the film will be different things for different people. What it should convey, I don't think that it should convey any one specific thing. I think that it should be for what somebody comes to the film for. I think that they should get something different out of it. Um, you know, it gives, I think, for new audiences to have heroes. Like I said, you know, a lesbian woman of color, she doesn't have many heroes. There's so few films that have them in it, and they definitely don't have their own Luke Skywalker yet. And so that there's that. But for a science fiction audience, or for an audience that just likes a trippy psychedelic experience, it's going to be something different. And I be lots of things for lots of different people.
The film plays in the 28th century. Why did you choose this era?
I come when I went to college. I went as an astrophysics physicist, and I really wanted to apply more sound science and to really terraform the worlds that we were going to be on. It would take that long. It would take a long time to grow forests on Mars and terraform the atmospheres of these small moons and create an environment in which humans can thrive. It would take that long. And so we basically made the short period we could make to get people living on these other worlds. That and also a time that we can create these new kinds of human species. So that really was the kind of the meter that we set for when we were going to set this movie.
Which scene is your favorite scene in this movie?
Really hard. I think because Tim Curry has such a delicious voice, there's a scene when they're getting loaded in a bar on drugs and alcohol, and it's very psychedelic, and Tim is laughing and he's doing his deep, rich voice, and it's just such a fantastic soundscape, and there's all these psychedelic images. I really love that just because the beauty of it, for the sound of it, colors, the immersive experience, and then Parker, who's been just drugged to the git, she wakes up on the street, and there's another cool scene where these three women sing to her.
What is your plan for showing this movie to the audience? Are you going to make a stream on a website, or are you going to travel around the conventions, or are you going to do anything else?
Well, is the first step we're making is we're going to a lot of fiction conventions and film festivals around the world. There's been a lot because of the unique nature of this film, and trying to get it in those to build our fan base. And once the fan base is big enough, then we're going to do We're going to do a limited theatrical release in North America in a few key cities. And it will be available on DVD and it'll be online streaming. We've got a couple different global services that it's going to be up on, as well as iTunes, Netflix, Amazon. It's going to be available to everyone and anyone who wants it. But we first need to build a fan base because we don't have an advertising budget. We're a very small movie, and we're not going to be able to spend anything like a Hollywood movie on getting the word out. So we have a fan base, so the fans tell each other, "Hey, check out Strange Frame. It's very cool. It's like nothing out there," and that we've got to build it. So we have to take our time at this step of the movie to get it out to the audience in the right way.
Yeah, it's actually the same thing as here with as of Planet. We are a small project and we are trying to get a fan base, and it's pretty hard to get a fan base without any advertising.
It is. Well, I mean, what's great about this internet age is there's definitely more opportunity for that. The problem is there's so much more content out there. It's hard to get your signal above the noise level of all the others out there. But we've done a pretty good job. I mean, we have almost 21,000 fans around the world. We have more fans overseas than we do domestically, and I think that's a pretty incredible thing for a small little independent movie. I think that we're making the right steps, and I think that, like you, just getting the word out and interconnecting with other groups that are like-minded. We're trying to get on all the sci-fi podcasts, and all those podcasts should interconnect with all the different blogs out there. And that's the way that we build the community.
You said that this is a small independent movie, but I just wonder, how did you reach the cast? I mean, you have many well-known actors you're working with in an independent movie.
The thing is, with independent movies and you don't have much money, it's almost impossible to get name talent, well-known talent. Because I first reached out to a sound guy. I reached out to a woman, Laura Hirschberg, who is a sound designer, and she put me in touch with Gary Rizzo, who became our sound mixer. And he, like I said, he's probably the top guy in the world. And when you have the top guy in the world in sound, people that are working in voice work, they respect you a little bit more. And we were able to get Jamie Thomason, who's one of the best animation voice directors in Hollywood, to work with us. And since he's worked with everybody, he was able to get the cast that we got, basically the cast that we wanted. So you need to have your connections, and you need to have connections with people that really have some pull. It's hard to make those connections. You just have to keep at it. We did spend, 7-8 years on this movie producing it. So, it takes time.
Yeah, we are pretty much done. We have just one question left, and do you already know what projects you will do in the future after Strange Frame? Will it be an animation film again, maybe, or will it be a film with real actors, so a non-animation sci-fi film, or will you do documentaries again?
Projects in development. Obviously, I'd love to do the sequel of Strange Frame. It really was set up as a 4-movie arc. It's all, how easy is it going to be to fund the next project? That's been the huge obstacle to this project, and I don't want to beat my brains out on the next one. So I've got 2 live-action television series that I'd really like to get off the ground. They're science fiction. They're more comedic. They're more sci-fi comedy than serious. And I've got a very low budget kind of science fiction fantasy horror movie that I could get off the ground fairly easy with very little funding. So that's my backup plan, because it's really low budget. And then I also, as far as documentary work, I have a client interested in working with me to do a documentary about a tribe of Native Americans.
Yeah, we're done here. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your insights in your work and in this movie.